reading romance is like trying a coffee. You have to try some bad ones to know which are the good ones.
That's like a very good comparison, I would say. Write a short story under 500 words.
Yes, I have.
I think that is one of the achievement, writing a short story within 500 words, because I struggle for that.
So the first story I wrote ever was a short story under 500 words.
But I just love biryani. I am vegetarian and
Okay.
there is this cliche. People say biryani नहीं होती, पुलाव कहते हैं उसको, तहरी कहते हैं. But no, that's my biryani and I love it that way. Hey, I'm Tanvi. Welcome to another guest episode of Pages and Beyond podcast show. Today I'm thrilled to have Disha Sethi, a chef turned author. Food, stories, and love are the major ingredients of her life. Disha has written a book on romance, modern day romance, featuring female characters as they navigate through their life, breaking the boundaries, questioning societal norms, and finding their happiness. Hi Disha, how are you doing?
Hi Tanvi, thank you for having me here.
So, Disha, before we dive into our discussion, why don't you tell a little more about yourself, about your book, Redefining Love, and how do you make balance between writing for a profession, for your clients, and for yourself as an author?
Okay. So my first book, Redefining Love, has given me a good response, and readers have really appreciated the book. Thank you so much for that, including you. So writing for a profession is my bread and butter, and writing books is my passion. So one keeps the house running, and the other keeps me going.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Balancing act, I think find time for writing books sometimes early in the morning or late at nights. And like many other authors, I don't have a particular writing schedule or a writing desk where I sit down and write. I would probably be making breakfast and some dialogues would be running in my mind, and I would note them down in my notes or just record a voice note and jot it down later in my book.
This
So
is
that's how
something.
I go.
This is something cool. Like that can help me also, and I'm sure our audience will love it. Like recording a voice note of the dialogues that are running in your mind when you are doing your
Exactly,
daily
because then you
course.
tend to forget it later, and then all the, writer's block and all those dilemmas come in.
Yeah, that's true. And we never know when writer's block comes, because we, no matter how much we say that I don't feel like writer's block, but that when that comes, that is called, that is the creative block. You don't get
Right.
ideas to write, you are just confused and you are not able to sit and just focus that what you want to write.
Exactly. So I think writer's block is nothing but monotony and overthinking about your writing. So,
I think.
and I'm also a victim of that many a times. What works for me is that I change my scenario. I would probably step into a cafe, or just change the room I'm writing into, or just have a cup of coffee or take a break.
That's something that's a good way to try. And I think everybody of us, like everyone who is into writing, they find there are different ways to come up with a writing block, basically. Because I think writing, that is your passion, or that is my passion, but there needs to be a break. We all understand that.
We
So
all do.
that comes when we are into writer's block.
Exactly.
In your book Redefining Love, you have explored strong female characters. So how do you like make it possible that they don't turn out as a stereotype?
Okay, so the entire idea of writing Redefining Love was to break down stereotypes along with breaking down those societal glass ceilings. So, when we say strong women, we just don't say somebody who is, successful or rich or independent. It also means somebody who is emotionally very resilient. So, my characters are not perfect. They don't have the perfect bodies, they don't have the perfect characters, they are flawed. You could even say some of them are morally gray. But that's what makes them more relatable. They make mistakes, uh, they fall down and then they get up, just like we all do. So that's the whole idea how I try not to make them stereotypes. So you would find that one of my character is trying to make a career in a profession where males are dominating the society. One of them is dealing with an extramarital affair, something that is not really seen as a woman
Is
going
not
into
a good
that.
thing.
One of my character is doesn't have a perfectly slim body. So this is how I try to break those norms.
Oh, that's wonderful. In fact, when we talk about writing female characters, most people think she might be a feminist.
Yeah.
So these kind of things come across when you are writing about the female characters and you want to show them as the superheroes in your book. Since you have also explored love, so how do you feel the modern day romance is evolving in today's society in Indian fiction?
See, today's romance is very different from what happened in the past. We are no more into love versus arranged marriages. Today's romance has a lot of layers. We're talking about second chances, we're talking about self-worth, self-respect, mutual connection, and these are the things that outline the modern day romance. We are no more into those dancing around the trees and love at first sight. It's very cliche now. Nobody appreciates that, and it's the romance has more of a reality check these days.
That's correct, I think, but not agreeing with that. The first chance romance, first sight romance is not happening. That is happening somewhere.
It is happening, but then again, like I said, it has a lot of layers. You might
Exactly.
get into a love at first sight, but then later on, you would also get into, mutual respect, my career, my self-respect. It all comes as a package these days.
Basically, the reality check that you mentioned
Exactly.
about, like,
So the happy ending is not as simple as it used to be 20 years back.
actually, I'll share with one of my examples. So, love at first sight thing. I had a crush on a guy. That was the first crush of my life, actually. And after a few days, that reality check came in my mind. I just went practical and thought about a lot of things, and then it was gone,
See?
literally gone.
See, you answered it yourself.
So, but yeah, I have other people in my life that those have the same experiences where they fell in love with a person, not because for any like beauty or something like that, but being like, for their flaws, basically, because flaw is in everyone, I believe.
We have a thing for flawed men. We all love bad guys somehow or the other. It always comes into our books, into our movies, and into our real lives also. So I'm also a typical romance lover. I am into Bollywood. Shah Rukh Khan is my go-to actor. So I completely understand what you're saying. But if you actually get into the real scenario, it's not really as simple as it sounds.
True. That's completely like that. I completely agree with that because at the end, what I've said, like practicality is very important in our life, and these
Exactly.
days, life has become very, very difficult to like try it out or go into fling and all these stuff. So we have to be very practical when we are choosing someone as a partner in our life. Being a romance author, what do you think about Indian novels, like authors who write romance? They don't receive that recognition. So, how do you feel about it? And what's your take on that? Basically, what if your book does not do that good that you are expecting from your readers? How would it turn out for you?
Obviously, I would be disappointed. Let me be honest here. See, I've read a lot of romance by Indian authors. I have grown up reading a lot of books like Ravinder Singh and Durjoy Datta. I think we all have. The problem is not with Indian romance. The problem is with the mentality. So in India, reading is still seen as, if you're not reading something which is helping you, like a self-help, it's a waste of time. Romance is considered fluff, and if it's not classic literature or if it's not self-help, then you're just wasting your time. You're not learning something from it. But that's actually not true. You know, a romance book, a good romance book would take you into a lot of human emotions and help you delve into your own mindset about these factors like resilience, love, and giving second chances. What do you think about a lot of different dynamics of relationship? So it's high time that we start taking romance books seriously. And romance books are in high demand globally. It's just in
True.
India that we have this mentality that only self-help works. No, fiction teaches you a lot.
True. I also believe that I'll tell the truth. I used to read only self-help books or the non-fiction earlier when I was jumping into reading. My first book was Ikigai.
Okay.
That was a good book, I no doubt. But eventually, after I read a lot of other books in non-fiction, I realized this is not meant for me. Like I'll not take the name of the book, but there was this book when I read that book, I realized this book was written years back. That
Yeah,
was written with that perspective of time.
exactly.
But now the time has changed and the book needs to be changed. The non-fiction, even today's author, contemporary non-fiction, if we talk about, those are way different and practical. But the books,
Exactly.
those were written earlier, like years back, they are not helping us right now. We
Yeah.
need the new things in our life as per the changing time.
So the relatability is missing. And coming back to fiction, I've always said that fiction would take you to places where non-fiction cannot.
True.
So let's stick to that. And not every time and everybody wants to learn something. Let's just enjoy a good romance book like you would enjoy a nice Bollywood movie. You don't go to watch a Bollywood movie thinking that I'm going to learn something from here.
Exactly, and even if we don't seek learning now, there is something or other that we learn from anything and everything. Not just books. Anywhere we are going, we are meeting new people. We are learning something or other from them, even not realizing that. So
Exactly.
I believe there is nothing like we are not learning anything from fiction book, because I have been reading full-time fiction for a long time now, and I can say that I am learning a lot of things. Being an author and a reader, as a writer, I am learning new writing style and learning new ways of bringing readers to your book. So
See?
these kind of things are being learned by me. So I believe everybody is having something or other. They just have to change their mindset and they have to look up to something when they are like taking a
Exactly.
book.
Yeah.
So that is something that you mentioned, like we have to enjoy something. When we are enjoying, we never know what we will learn from that.
Expect less and enjoy more.
Exactly. I have noticed your social profile, you talk about romance a lot. Why don't you tell about your favorite tropes in writing and reading?
Okay. I personally like a good slow burn romance. So something like a friends to lovers or an enemy to lovers is my go-to trope.
When you are reading or writing?
Both.
So is there any trope that you don't like at all?
Um, Not really. If it's a good romance book, I would just pick it up, no matter what the trope is.
Okay. And what if you have to write a specific trope? Which will be the one you will prefer?
Friends to lovers.
Why so?
Um, like I said, I like a good slow burn, slowly building up the tension. So, you get a lot of scope for that in a friends to lover or an enemy to lover situation. So, I like doing that. Coming back to a question, a love triangle is something that I'm not really happy with. I find it very impractical and I find it very, uh,
Heartbreaking,
yeah,
basically. Like somebody or the other will be hurt
yes,
eventually.
exactly.
So, any book that you read as where you found love triangle?
Twilight Saga when I was a teenager, that's what I can think of right now.
I have also I have seen that movie actually. What is something that you would like to tell a reader who does not read romance?
Uh, Give it a shot. Uh, Reading people say that it's just romance, but romance is not anything just. Romance is a huge genre. It is loved globally, and there's always some romance book for every reader, whether it's enemies to lovers, humor, um, friends to lovers, and there's so much to explore in romance that there is no end to it. And I promise you, once you start reading romance, there is no going back from that.
I
it
think I
it
have some friends who has done something like this when they started reading romance and they are not coming back to anything else. They are just
exactly,
into it.
because it gives you a break from the monotony of your life. It also gives you real life lessons on your own personal relationships. There are so many times that I'm reading a romance book and I can relate, oh, this is what happened with me and my husband, or this is what happened with somebody I know. And it always comes back to some real life connection. It tells you a lot about emotional depth, about feelings, how to navigate relationships and challenges. So there's a lot to do with romance books. It's not just romance.
I think they also teach you like relationship dynamics, not just about two lovers, but around everything, all
Yes.
the relationships in our
Yes,
lives.
because you would always see that in a romance book, it's not just about a couple. You would see that maybe the female protagonist has a complex relationship with her father or mother, or the character have some past which is, making them react in a certain way. So you can always relate and learn from that.
That's
It's a
true.
therapy in its own way.
Yeah, actually, I am not a dire romance reader, but this year I just plan to read some romance books where I can just relate and find something good. Because 2 years back, when I started reading, so everything I was reading was under romance genre, and I was like, oh shit, this is also the same, and this is also the same. So when last year I read a few books from my friends who are Indian authors, in fact. So that's when it came to me like, no, there are good books in romance. As we talked about Indian authors in
Yes.
writing romance. So that cliche comes when everybody is writing the similar thing. But
Everybody's writing the similar thing, or maybe you're reading only one trope.
exactly. That is what I was coming to. Like we have to find the right read author or maybe the right book to find the uniqueness. Then only
Exactly.
we can stick to something that we are just putting a cliche on, like this is not good, this is written by Indian author. So that doesn't make sense. That is something I have learned hard in my
It
reading.
brings me to a point that reading romance is like trying a coffee. You have to try some bad ones to know which are the good ones.
That's like a very good comparison, I would say, because me being like I like drink coffee, not a chai person, but when it comes about coffee, so I don't have that like critical eye when it comes about coffee, but I understand that because coffee needs to be crisp. It can't be anything like
Exactly.
because mostly what we have in our daily life, we have instant coffee. So in that also we have a lot of variety, but not
Exactly.
every coffee makes sense because these days flavored coffee and all these stuff are coming in picture, and it's
And there's
difficult.
no one right coffee for everybody. So it
Everybody.
it it goes the same for romance books also. There's no one book for everybody. Everybody would have their own genre, but definitely there would be something for everyone there.
That's true because maybe I am a beginner in romance. Smut might not be for me. I just need a cozy romance.
Maybe.
I read a 7 year slip last year. That was a smut romance, and
Okay.
I think that was after a long time I picked up romance and I loved it. One of my friends who knew that I don't read romance, and she was like, she was being giving smitten eyes to me. Oh, you read that book? That has a lot of smut in that. How could you do that? How did you read? I told her I had an audiobook of that. I was listening and it was too slow, so I just picked up the book and finished it in a one
I
go
get it.
because that was literally very good romance I have read. I will suggest you also
That's a
just give
good
it a try.
recommendation. I'm
Yeah,
going to get it today itself.
yeah, because books by that, it's a foreign author, so not coming to that cliche, but that was literally a very good book. I
Okay.
vouch. So, what if there are readers who just stick to non-fiction or maybe thriller or maybe fiction? So, how do you bring them to romance? What is one thing that that can help them come to romance?
Um, don't you get bored of eating the same meal every day? Would you not want to try a different cuisine? Try. There's no harm trying, and I'm sure that it would be a genre that you would like to stick to.
From the heart of the chef. That was lovely. That I just because being that cliche person who was switching from romance, I was not going near it. And when I read that book, then I decided this year I have to explore some good books in romance. And in fact, I have read 3 to 5 books in romance already this year,
Okay, that's
and I
nice.
have loved it. Recently, one that I have read is Man of Her Match by
Okay.
Sakshama. So that is also a very good book. So cozy
There are a
romance.
lot of good books recently that have come up from Indian authors as well
Exactly.
as global authors, and they are wonderful pieces of art.
Yeah, I think we need to change our mindset to like
Yes.
look up. We have to broaden our vision when we talk about something. Like, see, it's about enjoying. So how could you think like ये तो मेरा है ही नहीं. I cannot go with it, but even without trying.
See, it might happen that there's this one particular book that you did not like, but that doesn't create the entire genre is bad. But I think everybody has their own taste at the end of the day.
That's wonderful. When it comes about romance novels, who is your go-to author and why?
Colleen Hoover.
Which books? Because
Um,
again, that's One
I
author
I love
people bash
most
and
of
love.
her books. I loved Verity. I loved It Ends With Us, and I've read the sequel also. And if I have to close my eyes and pick up a romance book, I would pick Colleen Hoover or Ali Hazelwood.
Oh, that's I haven't read both of them, but Ali Hazelwood I have like heard good things only. Talking about Coho, there are people of both scenarios, like
Yes,
they bash and they love.
yes, yes,
So
I
yeah, again,
agree. But I really liked her books, to be very honest.
that's nice. If you have to collaborate with an author, specifically in romance genre, with whom you would like to collaborate, not Coho this time.
Okay. No, I don't have an answer to this one.
Indian, foreign, any author.
Sarah Adams?
Okay. And why?
I like reading her books. The books are really light-hearted and fun and very relatable. So I've recently started reading Sarah Adams, and I think I would like to go on a retreat and start writing with her.
Wow. Any book recommendation from her to the audience?
Explore and let me know which one did you like.
That's like, that's a superb answer. Like, you try and you tell what is the best one.
Exactly.
Because again, the thing that we are repeating again and again and again, there is no one book for everybody. Everybody has to explore and find their own love for the books. And
Exactly.
because it's like you don't find the book, books find you. And at the right time, you will get the right book in your hand.
Perfectly said.
Since you were a chef earlier and now an author, so I have this thing to ask you, if your female characters or your female protagonist of your love story would be a dish, what would it be?
That's a fun question. I think my characters would be a nice biryani. They are full of different flavors. They have multiple layers. They are complex. They take time to come together, but when they do, they're unforgettable. And I don't think there's anybody who doesn't love them.
Okay, that's super, like it brings water in my mouth because I just love biryani. I am vegetarian and
Okay.
there is this cliche. People say biryani नहीं होती पुलाव कहते हैं उसको तहरी कहते हैं, but no, that's my biryani and I love it that way. We have talked about writing in general all. What are the challenges as an author you have faced when you published your first book?
See, Indian publishing industry is really vast, and I would say that it's pretty unorganized. So, as a new author entering the market, there are very few people who would actually guide you in a genuine way. With traditional publishing, self-publishing, and making the decision, there's a lot to do. Plus, I think a lot of people are going to bash me for saying this, but in order to write and market a book, you need a lot of money. And
True.
to be a good writer, it's also more important to be a good marketer. So I think that is the biggest challenge that I still face. Besides the writing, you have to be there, be seen, be heard, consistently post, stay up with the trends. That's not something that traditional authors used to do 20 years back. Markets have changed, scenarios have changed, but I think the biggest hurdle for any new author is to be seen.
Exactly. Not talking about just author. In every field where you are, you have to be a content creator
Exactly.
basically, because that is how you are pulling the people towards something that you have created of your own. Because everywhere everybody is writing, many people are becoming authors these days. So you have to be that unique voice, and you have to bring something new on the table for everybody to get attracted to yours.
See, as an author, what I'm bringing new to the table is there in my book. But to have my book be seen and be available in front of my readers is the biggest challenge. And
Yeah,
I think
that's
most of the new authors would relate with that.
even I relate with that, if because I have seen that how marketing is changing the trend of reading.
Yeah,
Basically, it's more about marketing than a good book,
correct.
because there are established author in our networks and there are authors like us who are just beginning. So we see the struggles, how they are coming up with their books, marketing and all the stuff, and how they are switching to content
Yes.
creation. Even I want to mention one of that experience. I talked to one of the agents and I asked them about the book, poetry book. So what was the take of the other person? That the agent was, you have to have a good following to get people attracted.
See,
Why should your book be picked? What is the guarantee of your book being sold? So that's what comes in. We are building, we are growing, we are making it for us. We are making our own market. So that will happen with time. We cannot just say, oh, I have this much following and just take my
Of
book.
course, of course. What I'm trying to say is, there was a time when book was a legacy. So an author's book was a piece of work and a piece of legacy he left behind. Today, your book is just a product. And me as a hardcore reader and a very passionate author, I think it's a little unfair to authors and the craft as well.
Yeah, exactly. But eventually, if you will see any other craft or any other art, you will find the same scenario there.
Yeah, I
To
agree.
shine and to rise and to grow, you have to be there in the market to show that you are here. You have to shout out yourself,
Yes,
like, I am here, just look at me, just hear me for once. So that is the biggest challenge I feel like everybody is facing these days because of the trending social profiles and the
yes,
social media
exactly,
marketing.
exactly.
So basically, that's like daily bread for some people, I guess.
Agreed. But so there's always a pros and cons for that. Uh, Supposedly, there's somebody who's a really good writer, but not a good marketer. So, the book will not reach the right
True.
audience. But on the other hand, a very good marketer or a content creator with a shitty book can do wonders.
Exactly. We can relate with that. Not to mention any specific person,
Yeah.
but there are people out there
Yes.
who are like full time into writing as well, like full time author, and they are not writing that great. But yeah, because of marketing and all that money, it's
We've
happening.
all read such books.
Yes, we cannot deny that because we are hardcore reader as well, along with writing our own books. So, after writing Redefining Love, what is your next passion project?
Okay. Next passion project is something very different from what I've written in the past. This is a full-fledged novel, and it's a typical contemporary Bollywood style romance.
Nice.
I would not get into too much details because let it be a surprise for now. But it would be out soon, and I hope people will like it.
That's wonderful. After redefining love, where you have explored love in form of female characters, in like via female characters. Now you are coming up with your full-fledged novel. Would you like to talk a bit about the characters?
Okay, so you would see a lot of me in that book.
Nice.
One of the main characters is a writer. The other main character is a chef. So there's going to be a lot of romance, a lot of love, and a lot of food in the book. And I have high hopes with that one, and it is my new baby. So a lot of love for that. I'm in the process of, getting the formalities done, and I'm hoping that it should be out before the end of this year.
Nice. I just wish, fingers crossed, your book is out this year.
Fingers crossed.
One last question before I just wrap up is, how do you relate food and stories on love for as a source of nourishment?
Fun question. Food is something that fills your stomach, and books are something that fill your heart.
Wow, that's lovely. I think this will keep ringing in my ear.
I'm glad.
Wow, that was an insightful discussion, and I'm pretty much sure our audience is going to love it.
Thank you.
But before we wrap up, I have something for you. Every time I have a guest on for podcast, I come up with something interesting. And for you, I have prepared this book bingo
Okay.
with 9 prompts, and let's see how much you have ticked off in your writing.
Okay.
Not as a book, but as a story or maybe reading. So
Okay.
let's play this. This is for you. I'll say, and you have to take.
Okay.
The first one is write a dialogue about a perfect date night meal.
Yes, I have.
Read a book with a plot twist that surprised you.
Absolutely, I have.
Write a short story under 500 words.
Yes, I have.
I think that is one of the achievement, writing a short story within 500 words, because I struggle for that.
So the first story I wrote ever was a short story under 500 words.
Read a book with a meet cute involving food.
Mm, no, but I'm writing one.
Oh, let's not take that for now. Write a letter to your younger or future self.
Yes, a lot, many times.
Read a book where the main character finds self love.
Yes.
I think
I've read my own book.
redefining love was about self-love.
Yes.
Write down, have you written 5 new vocabulary words you learned while reading?
No.
Have you written something with a complex family dynamics?
Yes.
And the last one and my favorite, read a book with strong female friendship.
No.
Okay, so let's see how much you have done. That brings me to the end of the discussion, and I love discussing all the things with you. And I'm sure our audience is going to love this episode for
Thank you,
sure because
Tanvi.
we have given some food for thought to them. But before we conclude, why don't you tell about your experience being here on this podcast?
Oh, I love being here. Tanvi is such a beautiful person, such a good soul. She was, she was there to calm me down and tell me that I'm going to do well. So, yeah, absolutely insightful session. Do get connected to her. She's such a sweetheart.
Thank you so much. If you also want to have a conversation with me, check out the caption for the details. Stay tuned for the next episode.